What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new camo system that was added to Blackout, and this is the paint can system. Now in this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly how this paint can system works and how many of those you will need and how to get the camos in this game. Then I'm going to be sharing some tips to help you guys get as many of these paint cans as possible within a game. And this technique that I have will give you minimum 20 paint cans if you do it right per game, and that's just the minimum. If things work out for you and you do things just right, you'll be able to sometimes get 40 plus paint cans in a single match. And then finally, towards the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing my opinion on this paint can system, as well as just some constructive criticism I have in regards to the way that camos are unlocked in Blackout. So first up, how do you unlock these camos? Well, you unlock them by picking up the paint cans around the map. These paint cans will spawn in non-loot locations, so it won't spawn where you would normally find loot. Instead, they're normally like right around eye level on top of boxes or benches or crates, countertops, sometimes beds, and you might even see them on top of rocks in the middle of a field. This is where you'll typically find those paint cans. They're really easy to see. They actually pop up and are highlighted very, very clearly, so they're quite easy to find if you are looking around eye level and not staring at the ground looking for traditional loot. And the way this works is when you pick up a paint can in match, it goes into a separate inventory. This inventory is completely separate from your normal inventory, so it doesn't take up a spot in your backpack or anything. And also, when you die, you keep all of the paint cans that you had on death. You don't drop them in your death stash, so you can't be looting them off of dead bodies. And also, once you pick them up, you are guaranteed to have those in your permanent inventory, unless you lose connection to the match, in which case I believe you will end up losing those. Now when you get these paint cans, the way you use them is you go into the armory screen within the Blackout menu, and from there you go to the Blackout tab for the weapon camos, and then you'll be able to see when you click on a gun, you can start unlocking camos by just spending paint cans on them. The first couple camos will only cost 5 paint cans for a particular gun, and keep in mind this is individual to the specific gun, so it's not like you spend 5 paint cans and get that camo for all assault rifles. You just get it for that one assault rifle, assuming you're on an assault rifle. And this will ramp up as you get further into the camo progression. So like I said, the first 2 are only 5 cans, then it ramps up to 10 cans, then 15 and 25, and it ramps up from there. In total, to complete the performance tab of the camos, you will need 120 cans. Once you complete those first 120 cans and you unlock that Blue Tiger camo, you open up the technical challenges. And unfortunately, with the technical challenges, it's just more paint cans. For each one of these technical challenges, it's going to cost you 30 paint cans, which means there's 5 of those, and that's going to be 150 more paint cans to get gold on that gun. As a result, that means we need 270 paint cans to get gold on each one of the weapons in Blackout. If you total that up for all of the weapons in the game, that adds up to just under 9,000 paint cans total in order to get dark matter for Blackout. That is a ridiculous amount. It's going to take an extremely long amount of time to do that, but with the tips that I'm going to be sharing in today's video, it might not be quite as painful as you initially thought. So let's start getting into these tips for the most effective ways to get paint cans within Blackout. The biggest tip I can give you straight up, the fastest way to get paint cans throughout the middle game of a match, is simply cruise around on an ATV on roads. This can be dirt roads or paved roads, and you will see paint cans that just spawn directly on the road. So just cruise around. When you see a paint can, stop, get off the ATV, pick it up, get back on, and keep going. You just repeat this process, avoid all gunfights at all costs, don't even worry about fighting people, just focus on those paint cans, and you should be able to get quite a few paint cans in a single match by doing this. Now to take that a few steps further, what I like to do, at least currently, is play Ambush. This is a limited time mode, so you might be watching this video and Ambush won't be available, which will be unfortunate. You still can do this in the basic game modes for Blackout, but it's just not going to be quite as easy as with Ambush. But what I like to do with Ambush is when you spawn into the game, you don't know where the circle is going to go initially until the helicopters start going on their actual flight path. Once you see where that circle is, what you're going to want to do is land far away from that circle. The reason for this is we don't want to be fighting enemies, we don't want to just immediately land and die or anything like that, and enemies tend to land within the general area of that circle so that they're not going to be running from the storm the entire game. So you really want to stretch far away from that circle, and some of my preferred places to land away from that circle, just to give you a few options, are going to be construction site, train station, hydro, and the buildings outside of Turbine. Not the main buildings, but those red buildings that are outside, as well as the little power plant areas there. Of course, you can land other places, but just based on my experience so far, and I have been jumping into games repeatedly trying to land in a wide variety of locations, these are the locations that tend to have the best density of paint cans based on my experience. Now, I do want to walk you through my absolute favorite route to take and my favorite place to land with this, assuming that circle is far away from this area. This is within the construction site, but not on top of construction because that's where most people land. And while there are paint cans up in those areas, it's not nearly as dense as where I land, which is right in this area here. Within this general zone in front of construction, there are a ton of paint can spawns, and most games, just by doing a quick loop through here, I will be able to find roughly 8 to 10 paint cans right at the beginning of the game. This is literally within the first minute and a half or 2 minutes of a game. I will have 8 easy paint cans in my inventory, and I almost never run into anybody. Although after this video, you might start running into the odd person. So once I do this loop and I go through and I check all these locations for these paint cans, then I want to get to an ATV, and an ATV will almost always spawn somewhere up near this intersection where these modern houses are, between the modern houses and construction. Get on this ATV and just start cruising down roads, and like I said, pick up those paint cans along the way. Make sure you pull up to the right-hand side of the paint cans because you will get off on the left-hand side of your ATV. That'll just make it a little bit more efficient when you get off the ATV, grab the paint can, and then get back on. And just repeat this process. Again, try and stay on the outskirts, stay away from that circle for as long as possible. Kind of ride the edge of the collapse in towards the circle, and just stay on those roads and make sure you pick up those paint cans. Once again, like I said, if people shoot at you, just try to use evasive maneuvers and keep moving. Especially in ambush, most people with their sniper rifles, they're not going to be that great at picking you off when you're in a moving ATV. So as long as you're zigging and zagging a little bit when someone takes shots at you, you generally don't have to worry about them. Although if it is really close quarters, you might want to just try and run them down real quick with the ATV, which I know a lot of people see as a little bit of a cheap tactic, but at the end of the day, it's the most effective way to get the person down and continue on your way picking up paint cans. And honestly, that's it. It's as simple as that. Using this method, if you're doing it right, you should be guaranteed at least 20 paint cans per match, assuming you don't die towards the beginning. And like I've said, I think it's very realistic to be able to get 40 or 50 plus paint cans by doing this if you play it right, and if you also happen to get a little bit lucky with those paint can spawns. So now that we have that out of the way, I did want to share my opinion on this paint can system for camos in Blackout. When I first heard about the paint cans, I was a little bit on the fence, and we didn't really know what the technical challenges were. Like once you get the first 120 paint cans, we didn't know what would happen with the technical challenges. But I was starting to warm up to the idea of, for your first set of camos, those performance camos, you have to just go around scavenging these paint cans. I think that's totally fine. However, once you get to the technical challenges and then each one of those camos is just 30 more paint cans, I got really disappointed when I heard about this. I was really hoping that these technical challenges would require you to actually use that gun within Blackout in order to earn those camos for that gun. Now, I understand Blackout is RNG, and if you were trying to work on one specific gun, it would be a little bit annoying if you just never really found that gun on the ground, or it was very rare that you found the gun. But at the same time, I feel like they could have really just dumbed these challenges down a little bit to make it relatively easy once you found that weapon. I think this would be much better because it would actually encourage people to use a wide variety of setups within Blackout, because the average person right now, they're picking up an ABR or an assault rifle, and then they have whatever as their secondary, probably a sniper rifle, maybe a select few of the SMGs, but there's really not much incentive to use any of the other guns in Blackout because they're simply inferior. I was really hoping that the introduction of camos would start pushing people to use other guns that you would normally not see, and I was really looking forward to being rewarded for trying to use an underperforming gun in order to get my camo progress and to be able to show that off and actually feel accomplished for earning the camo on that gun. That's kind of how I feel with Dark Matter in multiplayer. It really shows that you've gone through every single one of the guns, you've used them, and you've struggled through to earn the camos on every single one of the guns within multiplayer. In Blackout, in its current state with these camos, you can get gold camo quite easily by literally never even picking up that weapon. This was really disappointing to me. I realized that it would be ridiculous to have like 100 headshots or even 100 kills per weapon in Blackout, because that grind would be just completely unrealistic for most players. But even just having some of the technical challenges, like have the gun in your inventory at the end of the game, whether you die at the end of the game or win the game, have that one weapon in your inventory 5 times at the end of a game. At least then you would have to actively search for that gun. Even if you were just keeping it as your secondary, you still have it holding one of your weapon slots. In addition to that, for technical challenges, we could have something as simple as get 5 kills or 10 kills with that weapon. I think that's quite reasonable, even when you consider the RNG aspect of the game. Getting 5 or 10 kills with that one gun, that seems totally realistic for the average player. Another technical challenge you could do is simply travel X amount of distance with that gun in your hand. This one I know is kind of lame and easy, but at least in that situation, you have to find that gun and have it out and have it in your inventory. And finally, another suggestion I would have for one of these technical challenges is simply get a placement above a certain amount. So in solos, place top 5 with this gun. All of these sorts of camo challenges I think would be very reasonable to complete for the average player out there. They would be a bit of a grind, but not too ridiculous. And they would actually require you to use that weapon. Now, unfortunately, I don't see this changing at all, or at least not anytime soon. They're probably already committed to this paint can system, and I mean, people have already unlocked gold on a lot of their guns, so it would be kind of strange if they just suddenly changed up their whole camo system. But I just wanted to express my disappointment with that paint can system. I'm still going to be grinding it out and picking those paint cans up, because I kind of enjoy the scavenger aspect of it. I just really don't like the fact that you don't even have to pick up a weapon in order to get gold for it. So with that, we're going to wrap up today's video. I'd like to know in the comment section below, first off, do you guys have any other tips for maximizing the number of paint cans you get in a match? Is there a certain place you like landing that's really dense as well that I haven't mentioned in this video? And also, of course, I'd like to know what you guys think about this paint can system. Do you think this is a good system for camo progression in Blackout, or do you think it could have been something better? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.